Dice Masters, Ziferblat, and breakfast at Willington's. This is Staying In.
What about skips, Chris?
Oh, skips are fantastic.
Right, okay. But what you were saying was that prawn cocktail flavour crisps are disgusting and gross, and Dan and I are the only ones that actually like them. Yeah. And you're wrong, because you like skips, and skips are prawn cocktail flavour.
I mean, I'm not like some kind of aficionado of skips. I haven't had a packet of skips in like, I don't know, a decade and a half.
Skip aficionado?
yeah, like a connoisseur.
I just think you're wrong. I just think
what have you got against prawn cocktail?
Actually, yeah, what have you got against them?
It's just what I feel like I'm being conned.
What do you mean by feel like you're being conned?
My mouth doesn't know what's happening. It doesn't know where to place it. Is it sweet? Is it savoury? I don't know. What are these notes?
But that's like what you're saying there is, I don't like it when sweet and savoury comes together. You do realise that you're essentially just getting rid of whole elements of cuisine. I don't like sweet and savoury together. Like,
yeah, but when you open a packet of roast chicken and you smell the bouquet, you know you can kind of it's fake roast chicken flavoured, but there is a semblance there to chicken.
Yeah, and if I open up, let's say that Chris is right when he says he smells the bouquet and he can smell a scent of chicken in there. Okay, when I open a packet of prawn cocktail, I may not have a bouquet of prawn, but I'm definitely getting the cocktail aspect, the mayo sauce aspect. I'm absolutely getting that.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, right? Also, it's okay for flavours to not be real. Like, I quite like Tutti Frutti when it comes to my sweet choices, right? That's not a real thing. It's like if you go ahead and like try grape flavoured foods from America or whatever, they're not. That doesn't actually taste like grapes.
No. Well, sticking with Chris, though, I think one of the worst crisp experiences of my life is when we went round to Dan's for New Year's Eve, and he greeted us at the door. The first thing, New Year's Eve party. Him and his lovely wife had kindly laid on a buffet for us. Do you remember? It was lovely. Nice, it was a fantastic buffet. But the first thing, out of all the things on the buffet table, there's some lovely stuff there.
Wait. What now, Chris? What would you expect from a random buffet in New Year's?
Ironically, a prawn cocktail, perhaps.
A prawn cocktail,
finger food, Doritos.
Maybe some quiche.
Yeah, maybe a quiche. Maybe some, some chicken dippers. Maybe, for a bit of nostalgia, maybe some cocktail sticks with pineapple and a bit of cheese on them.
Oh, lovely.
But no, Dan greeted us with a tube of Pringles. Oh, lovely, Dan. Mint chocolate flavoured Pringles. Mint chocolate flavoured Pringles. And in fact, actually, Dan wouldn't almost let me pass the doorway unless I tried them. It's like some kind of toll I had to pay to enter his lovely flat. And that basically sullied my palate for the rest of the night.
You're welcome.
I mean, Pete had already gone home before midnight, was it?
Yeah, I was like, sod this, I'm out.
You only got there at 11.
Bucking the trend as usual. New Year's Eve party, leave before New Year's Eve happened. New Year's Day happens.
No, we stayed around for that. It was at least 10 past 12 by the time that we left.
You come all the way to London for a New Year's party and then you leave at 10 past 12.
No, we went and got a hotel, mate. Paid for a very nice hotel.
I thought you were in a barn.
But you were still coming for a New Year's party. It wasn't like you'd come all the way to London, to the outskirts of London, to stay in a Premier Inn, and then kind of hop into a party on the way as a little side thing.
That is exactly what it is about, though. Like, the whole point of going to a New Year's party is you go and do... Like, what's the point of it? You go there, you socialise... tick. You socialise with friends, tick. You have horrible food, tick. And then you see the year in, tick. What else is there after that which makes you then go, oh, New Year's is not completed unless I have done these things?
Because you're at a party. I don't quite know what you're missing. You're at a party. So be at the party. Don't leave at the very first opportunity.
I was at the party. I had a lovely time. I left when everything had been done.
Everything had been done, and you decided that fact when everything had been done.
Everything had been done.
At 10 past 12.
There we go.
I had really posh prawn cocktail crisps at the weekend.
Did you?
Before
Where you kept them? Hold on, we were hanging out the weekend, so
Friday.
you kept those like squirreled away somewhere.
Friday before we met.
Pete, he was going to yours. You know, we've all had breakfast at yours. We didn't know what to
He was
expect.
stocking up for the weekend.
hang on.
It's like a hamster hibernating food.
Side note, I stayed at Pete's for 2 nights. Breakfast on the first night was bacon, egg.
Well, there's the first mistake, giving you breakfast on the night.
In the morning,
That's very
after
early.
the first night,
Terrible.
bacon, halloumi, eggs in a lovely sandwich and sweet chili sauce. Superb.
Wow.
Second breakfast after the second night, eggy bread with some ham.
Oh, classic.
Yeah, classic. So Pete's really stepped it up from bacon that you slice.
Do we need to
Bacon
contextualise?
that
Do
you
we
can
need to...
spread.
Well, it was like a bacon spread, but it didn't really spread,
Yeah,
did it?
but
It was
you-
kind of like
but-
it was by one of those like tinned meat companies that
It didn't
that
even
sort
come
of
in a
claimed
tin, it was in a
bacon
plastic
flavour.
tub.
I think what annoyed me the most about that, Pete, was that you didn't tell us what it was. You just said, "Oh, does anyone want bacon?"
And
It was a subterfuge.
And considering now you're all about knowing where your meat comes from, it's a height of hypocrisy
Yeah.
that you once fed us something and didn't tell us where on earth it came from.
But the thing is, you wouldn't have eaten it if I'd have said this meat's from a can and has not been
So why were
refrigerated
you
and
eating
will
it?
last another 3 years. Because I was all right with it at that point. I was like, I don't really care about the suffering of animals. and then I was like, oh, now I do.
But
So
you don't live in like a nuclear bunker, though. You live in Bristol.
yeah, that doesn't matter. Whether or not, like, I just wanted to try canned meat. I was like, do you know what? Maybe this is as good as the well, I guess it is sort of real, but, like, maybe this is as good as, like, proper bacon. The answer, of course, was no, it is not as good as proper bacon.
But you tried,
still,
even while we were eating it, you tried to tell us that it was. You were like, this is really nice. And we were like,
it was
Pete,
all right.
what
It's
have you
almost like
fed
the
us?
utterly butterly of meat.
Pete, why have you given us dog food?
I can't believe it's not meat. Well, it sort of is meat. It's not really. But yeah, so I think ultimately, I think what we can come to at the end of this is basically I've become a much better cook, and we can drop the whole breakfast thing.
Oh yeah, we had spaghetti bolognese as well, which is really nice. All in all,
That's a hell of a
great
breakfast.
weekend, which we'll probably come to later on. But going back to prawn cocktails, as in the crisp, I had a crisp flavour that was langoustine, lemon and chive. So it's posh prawn cocktail. You know, it's prawn,
Right, yeah. Was it
prawn
nice?
and sour flavours together. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's lovely. My mum went bonkers for them. I tell you, I've never seen any woman go more bonkers for her crisps. Like, you know those crisps that we ate at your house, Pete. Those are the crisps my mum didn't want.
Well, so those are pretty posh crisps.
So the langoustine ones, she's keeping, and she's eating.
Oh my word!
She keeps them in the cupboard and gets them out for special occasions like Christmas, or if the Queen comes round.
She's buying up the whole stock from Marks and Sparks as we speak. Pete and I spent a romantic weekend together in Bristol.
Just the two of you.
Just the two of us. The good lady dropped her off at a hotel, and then I went to go and spend the weekend with Pete. She had a friend with her as well. Like, I didn't just...
I was going to say that. I'm glad you said that, because that would have been like, yes, you made the wrong decision there.
Look, Lise, I love hanging out with you and all, but I just want Pete to myself this weekend.
I've booked you a hotel.
And plus, the breakfast at this hotel isn't as good as what Pete's offering.
So I went to Pete's house, which is always a wonderful experience. I met him at... He was like, "Oh, come and meet me in the gang that I work with. We're at a place called the Canteen." I would describe it more as a students' union, more than anything.
Right, but it wasn't a students' union. It's just that's the area that it's in. It's like, it's just full of nice boho. We got served. We will have been served by like a woman who had like an anarchist logo, like wristband thing,
okay.
and then like it's all very like vegan and it's nice. It's all full of students, Sam.
Sam,
They're
you should consider
human
yourself
beings.
You should consider yourself lucky. When I last came down to Bristol, Pete, in advance of that, Pete had said, "Yeah, you can come with me," because I was going to get there about 4. and you can meet the people at work with and stuff like that. And I was like, oh yeah, great. And then probably like earlier of the day on my arrival, he was kind of like, yeah, actually, just meet me at my house. Basically, didn't want me to meet you for enough. So at least you got to meet them.
Like oil and water.
Yeah.
Remember
that sat outside his house for 3/4 of an hour in the cold.
Well, my favourite story, Dan, was that you went to visit Pete, and you didn't actually see Pete. You were just in Bristol, and you sent a picture of you outside his flat when he wasn't in.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It was really scary.
I'd gone all the way to Bristol with work, and I thought, you know what, I'll see my friend on the lunchtime, because we work quite near to each other, and I don't see you very often. Yeah. So as I went on my lunch, I was like, well, Pete's not around, so I'll go and see if he's at home. And you weren't, so I took a picture.
Yeah, I like the tone in your voice there, knowing that it was wrong. Just like so. Then
to be fair,
took a picture.
My biggest concern was that your good lady would be at home and she would see just someone like she obviously knows me, but in case she didn't know it was me, just someone random outside her flat taking pictures,
taking a photo.
That may have looked bad.
That's what she'd think, just another fan. So Sam and I hung out.
And it was lovely. On the first night, we dabbled a bit of Magic the Gathering. And that was
very good.
Fun. I showed Peter my blue control deck. And he showed me his...
what did I use? I used like a Shadows over Innistrad starter deck to play around. It was more of a sort of...
Keep it clean, lads, keep it clean.
Well, sorry. Well, it did get a little bit heated. We hung out for a bit, and then we drank G&Ts until 2 a.m. playing Magic and talking, and it was good, really good.
And then I started a new obsession.
Yes.
Which is...
Yeah, because you didn't need another one, Sam.
I don't need any more in my life. Well, to be fair, it all started when I spent £6 on dice a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And since then, I've had a thing about dice.
Right.
I was listening to... God, this just makes it sound so awful. I was listening to a podcast called We're Not Wizards. And
I've started listening to that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's really good. Two lovely, genial hosts. And they kind of mentioned this thing called Dice Masters. And I'd never heard of Dice Masters before. So I thought, oh, that sounds like fun. And I like dice now. So... I thought, you know, when you get an idea in your head, when you know you're going to buy something, and no matter what it's like, you're going to get out. And so Pete and I went to Forbidden Planet in Bristol, had a little look around. I bought myself a Garth Ennis graphic novel, and I love the Forbidden Planet in Bristol because all the over 18 stuff's put in shrink wrapping, so you feel well naughty when you buy it. You're just like...
this one's got swearing. Yeah.
So there I was, like, fiddling with this, like, shrink wrapping, like, thinking, like, yeah, I'm such an adult. And then I saw it. Then I saw their Dice Masters stand. I thought, Now, Dice Masters is a game which is based on a previous title called Quarriors?
Quarriors,
is that right? And basically... I bought World's Finest Dice Masters, which is based on DC, but you can get X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, Marvel, Civil War, Dungeons and Dragons, like all the big franchises we have now all have their own sort of Dice Masters set. So, of course, I didn't get it from Forbidden Planet. We went to another shop in Bristol called Excelsior, because I wanted to get the DC World's Finest set. And we nearly bought a board game called Scythe.
Oh, you nearly bought it, did you?
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris. That's supposed to be one of the best games of best board games of 2016.
But it will take you until 2017 to play it.
It's an epic war
real
game.
Dense.
Oh no, I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd ever play it, but I just know it's one of the hot properties at the moment.
Yeah. It's meant to be brilliant, but that Excelsior was it was pretty good actually. Like I really enjoyed like going through and seeing all that. It was like walking into like a genie's cave of board games. But yeah, so you were sort of like, oh, I'm going to get Dice Masters. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, I don't know if I can go there with you. But you were basically like, it's fine, it's going to be all right. I'll just get the starter deck for like 2 players, and you get cards and you get dice.
You get 2 little bags.
And then we were like, we were like, we'll go back and we'll play Dice Masters, the DC one. And then 45 minutes of figuring out what that rulebook actually meant. Now, I will say this before I criticise the rulebook. The game itself is actually pretty good, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in a second. And the card art's lovely, and once you sort of know how it works, it's quite nice and it makes sense.
That manual is
that
the worst.
manual, it's so bad. Like, it starts talking about mechanics as if you already know what they are, and then you're like, yeah, but I don't know what I don't know why I should move from this area. I don't know why I should move my dice from this area into this area. It doesn't actually make particularly clear that you need a copy per opponent of like a little map that it provides you as well of where you should be putting certain dice. Because where you actually put them on this map, physically on this map, is really important, and it never really makes that particularly clear as far as I can tell.
It does mention it, but it only gives you one map in a 2-player starter deck.
Yeah, that too. So it's like, I don't know what's going on here. But I think I quite liked it.
I really like the game as well, but as a game, it has been marred by the initial trying to actually understand. Like there was a rule in it which was a dice. If you threw it in one way, it would have the effect of reducing or spinning your character level from 1 to 3. And we were like, character level? What's that? So you read into the rules and it said, your character level is defined from left to right, reading 1, 2, or 3. So you looked at the cards, couldn't see anything on it. Nothing referring to level. Nothing at all. And like, oh, that's a bit weird. It's a bit strange. Okay, well, maybe it's just like for a card that's not in this deck or a card that's not into a set. About 20 minutes of research later, it turns out that on each card, so each card you get has a dice that's associated to it. And on that card, it has all 6 sides of the die and tells you what's on each side of it. Because most of the time, the dice sit in your little handy bag that you get.
So cool.
So you don't know. So as a quick reference guide, you know when that dice is going to that bag, you're getting 6 options of what's on that dice. And it figured out from internet research, not from the manual, the level of your character when you're using them are the 3 character faces that occupy half of the dice sides. And it's just like, that takes a sentence to describe in a manual, and we've wasted like 15 minutes trying to work out what one rule is to this.
We had to go and watch a nice video by some nice Canadian man, and he was like, and this is how you actually play the game. And it was like, and obviously there's a growing trend of games companies using YouTube to actually explain the rules quickly, and I really like that. I think it's a really good trend, but you shouldn't have to within a rule book. You should be able to just read what it says and say, oh, I know, I understand. And also, it's meant to skew like slightly younger, the game, isn't it? Because it's whiz kids, I want to say.
Well, it's 14 plus on the box.
Right, but
Is that how many years it takes you to read it? Understand it?
Yeah. But it is a quote unquote kids game in the same way that like Mario is a kids game. It's like
Magic's
it's actually enjoyable by anybody, but Magic's a kids game. But it's enjoyable by everybody basically. But yeah, like the actual mechanics of it, I thought were really clever. Like there's some card-based stuff, but the cards really kind of display what's going to be happening.
Got the dice out.
So you've rolled a dice and it's basically a specific action within that's shown on the dice, and then you refer to the card and it does this sort of certain thing, and then and then there's a fair chunk of luck in it, but a lot of the game is about mitigating luck.
It's a dice building game,
like mitigating
so
risk.
like with a deck building game, you're not only thinking about the short-term gains but also the long-term games. With a dice, so the main conceit of deck builder is for you to accrue energy by rolling like energy dice. So if you think of it in terms of like King of Tokyo, something like that, and using that energy to buy either like event dice that could help you in a spot, or character dice from the characters that you pick. So you have like Batman, Power Girl, Batwoman, Crypto the Superdog, Steel. You have this whole like host of DC characters that you can pick off. And you can pick like up to 8 characters and have up to 20 dice. So you can have like 3 Batman character dice and 2 Catwoman and 4. So, like, you got to really think about your strategy in the long-term game. And so when you're rolling dice, you're rolling basically to accrue your deck, to accrue those dice that you're going to use later on in the game. So do you opt early for character dice, so you can bring Batman into your bag, so then you can get, you know, Batman out to fight for you later on? Or do you go for event dice, which could possibly give you lots of energy later on in the game to then fight on in the late stage of the game? So there's loads to it, and actually, you know, Pete's right. Once you've got over that first hurdle, and I think when we're all together and I'm showing it to you, Dan, and you, Kris, because we've both played it, I think you'll not only get it a bit sooner, but I think both Pete and I will be a bit more infused about the game.
You'll be able to answer questions when we have
exactly. And you'll be able to go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Otherwise, we had to be like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. And you know that one time, Kris, when we cracked open Ogre, the Pocket Edition, to play it, and I was like, you know, that demoralising thing where you look at the rules and just being like, well, this isn't going to be much fun to learn and play at the same time, is it? Like, and that was exactly what happened with Dice Masters, but we just had to go over, we just went over that hurdle and had lots of fun. And of course, there's booster packs.
Yeah. So basically, we Sam went out and got a starter pack, and then I was like, okay, brilliant. So, and then we woke up and had our lovely breakfast of eggy bread, and then on the Sunday, and then I was like, okay, so what should we do? And Sam was like, well, we're going to go to Forbidden Planet and buy booster packs of Dice
After
Masters.
promising.
I was like,
gosh.
I was like, great, this is such a bad move, but also quite fun. I mean, like, I'm assuming that you've opened them already now, and. Was it good? Is it worth it?
The starter packs, the booster packs to the Civil War edition, because effectively the game's the same across all sets, so you can mix universes and worlds. So effectively you could create like a Marvel set of dice, and you could create like a DC one or merge them. You could have like dragons fighting for you alongside Iron Man and things like that. So there's scope to it. But the reason that I wanted to get the booster cards is because you get 2 cards and 2 dice in the set. In the starter set, you get 2 dice for each of the character cards, for each of the characters that you have. And most of the characters have a maximum of 4 dice each to them. So you kind of, if you're like thinking sort of long term, if I wanted to be Batman, Kris couldn't be Batman, because I've only got 2 Batman dice to play with. What? So there we go, yeah, exactly. So that's my kind of reasoning for getting like boosters. So when it comes to introducing you guys to it, it's a bit more flexible in terms of games. And also I kind of wanted to get some boosters to see what they would be like. And they're really cool. They're really good. Like, I got like a vibranium shield, which has like certain effects. I got 2 what's her name? Spider-Man's wife.
Lady Gaga.
No, I wish.
Black.
Me and Dan
Black
frantically trying to find a point of entry into this conversation. Dan just pounces on Lady Gaga. I'm in.
Do you mean not Gwen Stacy, but
Gwen Stefani?
No.
I'm seeing a link there. Come on.
Jeez.
Come on.
Do you mean
Mary Jane?
MJ?
That's it.
Mary Jane.
Michael Jackson.
And I don't know, Dan.
God, I don't know.
I think
Dan got a hat
you
trick.
found a new license for Dice Masters. Pop edition.
Can I just remind? I feel quite remiss because we have a WhatsApp group, or we have several WhatsApp groups, but the WhatsApp group, which is just us talking in general, which is lovingly entitled "Brothers," capital letters spelt phonetically, with the picture of the Three Musketeers all going all for one and one for all. Sam, you sent a message to the group chat on the 22nd of July saying, I just spent £6 on dice. That was at 9:47. 9:50. Can I nominate one of you to look after my finances?
Yeah. And the
9:50 again, or at least be a sounding board when before I purchase anything. Now, you with Pete. Pete was your sounding board. Pete.
So I think it's pretty clear that is not the job for me.
To be fair, Kris,
I guess I messed up on that one.
When I went into Forbidden Planet the next day just to buy a couple of booster packs, I mean, in the end I bought 5, but anyway, just to buy a couple of booster packs, Pete was going, why don't you buy the next starter set? Buy a starter set. Go on, just buy the Dungeons and Dragons starter set.
I'm your conscience, Jiminy Willington.
He was the one going, oh, I really want to buy Scythe. Do you know what it's about, Pete? No. But I like the cover art.
But it's you know, it was... and it's that kind of fun time where you're like in one of these big shops and you're like, you know, there's so many amazing looking board games. You just want to play everything. I think that's for you. Like from what I gather from you, Sam. Like I get the feeling you probably won't buy too many more boosters. But it was, I think the way you're approaching it is like, I want to play this game because it's so
like
critically
Dice Tower.
acclaimed.
It was nominated for Dice Tower Best Game, nominated for Dice Tower Best Two-Player Game, and from that kind of kind of stamp on the box. Usually, I'm going to look into getting a purchase. Yeah. It also got a Board Game Geek silver medal or a bronze medal. So it's like, in terms of rated games, especially two-player games, like Dice Masters is huge. It's massive.
Yeah.
And that was my idea with the starter set was, this is now a game that we can play when there's just like two of us together. It's just another game to go alongside Duke and Odin's Ravens, and like games take about 30 minutes. I like it.
Yeah, nice.
I think I might be in the best position to be your finance sounding board, Sam, because I would probably say in that scenario of being in Forbidden Planet, of all of us, I'm the person who walks in there and just doesn't belong there and has no idea what is going on. So I'm like,
Planet. That's what's so wonderful about it.
Yeah, everyone belongs.
But I have no idea what anything is there, so I just walk around and I'm like, okay, is it time to go? Are we done?
Dan, you're making it sound like you've just wandered into some kind of like bar that's like the home of a biker gang.
there have been times when we've gone into certain shops and I've felt that
shops
way.
Are you most what's the shop, Dan, where you walk into and you go, I know, this is it, this is home?
This is a fantastic question.
My people.
Yeah, if you're in a new city, Dan, and you had to go to a shop, what's the one you're going to feel the safest in?
Like for me, HMV.
Maybe HMV.
Oh my God, Dan.
What?
When was the last time, Dan, what was the last thing you bought in HMV?
Well, I haven't bought anything in a shop for a while.
Right.
I buy everything
Dan
online.
just shoplifts.
I remember when I was younger, on a fairly consistent basis. I'm talking like probably at least once a week, going to HMV and the deals they used to have on DVDs and buying just kind of 4, 5, 6 films because they were like 3 for £10 or something like that. And buying, I bought Taxi Driver or Scarface and just bought kind of classic films on a very regular basis. That's why I've got so many DVDs. I've got DVDs in my collection now that I bought probably around 7 or 8 years ago that I've never watched just because I bought so many.
See, you are fronting like you're not a nerd. But like that is classic nerd behaviour.
I'm not saying at all that I'm not a nerd. I'm just saying that in the realms of Forbidden Planet, it's not my mecca. Let's say.
We'll get you there.
So I went to Manchester to see you, hang out in the evening, and you said let's meet at. We went and had a meal. We had a lovely meal. Thai, fantastic food. I ate my dinner out of a pineapple, which was lovely.
Yes, as you do.
Yeah, which I felt captured the nice balance of sweet and sour that I wasn't getting in the packet of prawn cocktail crisps.
Is that what you look for in a packet of prawn cocktail?
That's exactly what I did. The umami flavour, Sam.
Because then I can understand why you like skips, because it gives you a bit of...
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Also, they melt in the mouth.
Yeah.
But a side note, Sam, so after that we went to a place called a Ziferblat, and you were waxing lyrical about it. I'd never heard of it before. What is a Ziferblat, Sam?
Ziferblat is a restaurant. Well, it's not really a restaurant. No, I'll start that again. Ziferblat is a cafe. Well, really, Chris, it's neither of anything I'm talking about.
It's a state of mind.
It's a state of being. It's a philosophy.
I'm already not interested. It's already out of my head.
Dan, cope with the dice, but this is a straw that broke the camel's back.
I'm not going to visit a state of mind.
So what is a state of mind?
So it's generally the pompous kind of way to describe Ziferblat it is defined. They define it themselves as a bit of a social experiment. So they take empty and unused spaces within cities. So they've got one in London, they've got one in Manchester. I think they're about to open a second in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And the idea is that basically as a community you help sort of sustain the existence of this space. So, at its basic theory, when you enter in a Ziferblat, all you pay for is your time. So, you like enter, and it's like when you went to a pool club during your lunch break when you're like 16, 17. Well, anyway, I did when I was doing my A-levels.
Yeah, I did that, yeah.
And you start with a card, and then you pay for your time afterwards.
Yeah.
But here, everything is free, except for the time you spend there.
So what's everything?
So everything is tea, coffee, cereal, toast,
food,
cake,
pastries,
biscuits, pastries, Coke, milk,
board games,
soya, board games, magic games, Wi-Fi, books. So basically, we've been using it as a kind of a hub, a place where for 6p a minute we can all meet together and basically have a really nice, comfortable place to, have a free cup of tea and have lots of food while we're there. So it's become, for us, because at the moment I'm renovating my house, so we don't really have the space there, and most of my friends of mine live or work in the centre of Manchester. Kris lives in Liverpool, so it's easy for him just to come into Manchester. It's a really easy and cheap way for us all to basically just hire a little space. Like when Eldritch Moon came out, we went to Travelling Man in Manchester, me and my two friends, Percival, that we know of, and we went to Ziferblat for 3 hours, drank loads and loads of coffee, free coffee, ate loads and loads of cake, and had a really nice, comfy, luxuriant armchairs, opened up all our sets and did all that kind of stuff. And you can bring in your own food if you want. Pets are welcome. The other day, I went to go and visit Kris in Liverpool, and he was having a meeting at Ziferblat, so I went along. Whilst Kris was in the meeting, I helped myself to a couple of slices of toast and 4 bourbon biscuits, and that was my breakfast. Thank you very much.
Nice.
I also got a creepy message from Sam because I was having this meeting with my colleagues, and I'd actually said, because I'd been to Ziferblat the night before with Sam, I said, let's meet in the Ziferblat in Liverpool, let's give that a try. And I introduced my colleagues to it, and they love it, and I think we're going to have meetings there in the future because it's so good. And so I was like, I know Sam's coming to meet me in Liverpool, and he should be here in a bit. And I said, Sam, I sent him a message saying, Sam, I'm in Ziferblat, I'm still in the meeting, and I just got a message back saying, I know. And I look round, and he's there in the corner, just half lit by this lamp in this armchair, reading a comic. How long has he been there? And the one in Liverpool was fantastic. I went over there, I opened the fridge, Pete, cold pizza in the fridge, amazing, pepperoni pizza. And then for the first time I thought, I feel like I'm in someone's living room. It's fantastic. Honestly, it's really good, and they keep everything topped up.
So how expensive was this again?
Well, Manchester is 6p a minute. Liverpool's slightly on the pricier side at 8p.
Well, it's much more central, 8p per minute.
So let's say 8p. Let's just say 10p per minute, right? 10p per minute. So 60 minutes in an hour. So you're looking at about. So that would work out to be what, £6 an hour?
Well, that's like having Brian Cox.
Is that right?
Well, no, not really, because Ziferblat in Manchester it's 6p a minute, so it's £3.60 an hour.
So with
a maximum of 5 hours, so you can't stay in there for longer than 5 hours.
Okay, so let's say it's about £4 an hour, right?
Yeah,
that's not bad.
If you think about what you pay for a coffee or a tea in a central city location, and you're getting that for free.
If you're there for 2 hours.
Yeah, if you're there for 2 hours and have 2 coffees and 2 teas, it's not like shit tea. It's like proper filter coffee. They got a proper coffee machine.
Grind your own beans.
All the teas that you could choose from. A fresh cycle of biscuits and cakes that are all homemade and home done. And you also get a space to yourself. So if you went to go and do that in Starbucks, you feel a bit rude for pulling out your version of Dice Masters and just flinging dice all around. But here, it's a space to be used. It's a space to be taken advantage of.
Wow.
And the one in Manchester is actually, it's so well kitted out. They've got a copy of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective to make sure they get the most money out of you.
Yeah. They've got game lasts about 3 hours.
They've got 5 Magic the Gathering intro packs. They got, is that Deception? What
Murder in Hong Kong, yeah, you should really check that out. So it's a cross between Werewolf and Spyfall, I think.
Yeah, so they've got they've got a great board game collection in Manchester. They really thought about it to the point where I want to go there to try out some board games that I've always wanted to try out.
So is this a chain?
It's basically, it was a guy called Ivan Meatin is the guy's name, and it was actually created as an experiment back in 2011 in Moscow. So it's kind of a chain. The people that own the one in Liverpool also own the one in Manchester. It's the same people. because I know, because when I was living with Sam, I was curious about it for my own, like, my workplace, whether we have meetings here. So they gave me, like, a pack, because you can book out spaces. So each Ziferblat also has its own rooms and, like, loft spaces. So one is like a classroom. So if you wanted to do anything, like if I wanted to take my students there off-site, we could do some work in a space there. There is a drawing room, which you can have really good work days. There's a dining room there as well. They're all kitted out in a kind of a nice kind of vintage style. It's really comfy and very cosy. It's like someone's living room, kind of crossed with, I suppose, a hostel, a YMCA. It's a really nice, welcoming place, actually.
We thought it'd be a great place to go when you're like hungover, because you go in, they serve like breakfast, so there's like cereals in the morning, and then they have like soup, and you could just go in there and have like toast and just like recover after a heavy night or whatever, and just relax and chill out, play some games. It's a really great idea. I mean,
I'd say we'll go when everyone comes to Liverpool, and we'll go there. We'll go to the one just across the docks.
Oh yeah, we will do.
I'm really absolutely in love with the fact that you found a place where there's all-you-can-eat food just before we all meet up and go and climb up a mountain. Like, that is not a good opportunity to get a big old belly before going up Scafell Pike. Is it Scafell or Scarfell?
Scafell Pike.
Scarfell?
It's named after what the guy looked like that they found who'd fallen off the mountain for the first time.
That's not real.
Don't scare him, Sam. He already thinks he's going to die.
I'm a little bit worried.
Well, why are you worried, Pete? You did a mountain last year. You conquered Snowdon. You planted your flag.
It's true. I planted my little flag. I guess I'm not actually that worried. I think. I don't know.
But I'm not going to let us go up the mountain if the weather's crap. We've got contingencies in place. So last year, if for whatever reason the weather was bad, I bought a board game called Snowdonia. So if we couldn't climb the mountain physically, we could metaphorically, symbolically climb the mountain through a really dense board game.
Right. So metaphorically, symbolically, instead of climbing up the mountain this year, what would we potentially be doing?
Well, there isn't a board game called Scafell Pike. However, Dan has prepared us an alternative, but I think we're going to do it anyway regardless. I think we're going to do it the night before to hype ourselves up for the impending ascent. Dan, talk us through, what is it? You've taken the reins on this, Dan, this game that we're playing. It's the first time, I think, as a foursome, we've done an RPG.
Well, have any of you guys ever done an RPG before at all?
Well,
yes.
Define RPG.
Like a Dungeons and Dragons type RPG.
Like a paper and
with
pen
characters
one.
Where you're a character and you lead through a story and that kind of thing.
Well, I've played Witcher and shit.
So I have played a pen and paper RPG. Yes, I played Delta Green. I've played, I think, a bit of D&D, and I think Call of Cthulhu, possibly. Yeah, I've played a couple of pen and paper. I love them. I really like them. They're really fun.
I mean, I've never played one before, so it was probably wise for me to be the host and creator for this one. There's a game called Dread, which is a kind of a structure they put in place where the main function of this RPG is, rather than rolling dice to decide things, the game is built around a tower of Jenga. So as the game proceeds, you remove blocks when you want to do something, and so over the course of the game, that tower becomes more and more precarious, and so obviously tension builds. And the idea with Dread is that it's built around, basically, you're creating a horror film, more or less. It's always built around horror aspects. I'm sure you could do it without, but the tower creates that tension, so horror stories really, really work quite well. As I've never done anything like this before, so I kind of thought, why not? I'd already got a copy of the game, which you can buy online. You can buy a PDF of it. It's about like £3.50 or something like that. Super cheap. And it goes into a lot of detail around kind of tips on how to host a game, how to create a game, what to avoid, what to do. So it's really good. I put together some questionnaires in the form of a job application form. I sent them all to you. You kindly all filled them in to different degrees of detail.
Brilliant.
Who was? Hang on, should we guess? Who do we feel was the most detailed?
Well, Pete, considering he's played pen and paper RPGs before, surely should know how to effectively give all the information to the DM of what's going to be needed.
Yeah.
That's very true, Sam.
I'm a giver.
So we've already established that Pete was the most detailed, isn't that right, Dan?
Not so much.
Okay, interesting.
Let's just say the questionnaire by itself, with no answers, came to an A4 page. Okay? So Pete turned that A4 page into just under 2 A4 pages.
Yeah, I thought you said you turned it into an A5 page.
Yeah.
To the point. Concise.
Laconic.
Don't waffle, mate.
Kris
Concise.
came next, who turned that 1 A4 page into 3 A4 pages. And then Sam took the lead, turning that one into 4 pages.
A book.
So, I mean, from your guys' understanding, what would you, in terms of these questionnaires, what are you expecting to, what would you be putting in there? What kind of, how much detail would you think you should be putting in?
Well, there's a kind of a tendency, because we knew it was a horror. I'm aware of Dread and being it's a horror scenario, so I tried to, because you basically gave us a questionnaire for us to kind of create a character. And the last time I did something like that was when I was, we were all studying drama at university. So, but because I knew it was a kind of a survival horror scenario, I had to resist the temptation to try and make my character invulnerable to every possible eventual peril. So, I could make him like a weapons expert, first aid trained, doesn't fear anything, and basically bulletproof, an all-star athlete. I had to give him flaws
you
to make your life a little more interesting.
You certainly went against the grain, Kris, I have to say.
Well done. If you're going to do something, do it properly, you know what I'm saying?
As a form to fill in, like, it was interesting, and I'd be actually more interested to hear, rather than us telling it, trying to reveal vague insights into how we filled it in, trying not to give our characters away until we actually play it. I'd actually be more interested in how you, Dan, having never played a pen and paper RPG before, however, never really shown much interest into this kind of gaming, actually, you were the person who went, yeah, I'll DM, I'll be the GM. Like, how did you go about...
Yeah, it was a surprise,
how did
actually,
you go about going, right, this is a story I'm going to pick, this is how I'm going to get... Because the way you got all the information from us wasn't just like a straight questionnaire, you did it in a really interesting way. I just want to know, like, how did you go about it? Like, we're boring, I just want to hear you talk.
Well, I kind of looked at it, when I decided, because I really got the game, I had read a lot about it, I was really interested in the structure of the game. I really like the idea of the tower and the kind of the way that builds tension and trying to create tension. And I like the idea of telling stories and being creative. And I think we've all come from a background of kind of theatre and areas like that. So we all have an element of creativity. And so as I started to think about kind of what story I wanted to tell, I started to think about kind of things that are scary and stuff like that. And I started to just come up with simple ideas, like a single idea, not for an overall story, but maybe one thing that I wanted to do, one scene or event that I wanted to happen, and then that kind of sat on a blank page, and then well, how do I get there? Okay, it's like this. I added this in. I wanted there to be a certain dynamic within the group, so I decided that there was going to be a dynamic. I then thought, kind of thinking outside the box, what story aspect can I think of that will create that dynamic? Once I had quite a few of those, the story kind of started to inform itself that, okay, I've set up a fairly strong through line in terms of what's going to happen, that now I can say, okay, well, now I fill in basically the kind of the world around it. Okay, it's not giving anything away to say that my story is set on a spaceship. So once I'd had that, I was like, that obviously, that lends itself to certain traits within the horror genre. So you can utilise atmospheric ideas, maybe sound effects and stuff like that I can then start to try and build into the story and trying to use that, as well as what I found quite difficult of anything in terms of that story aspect is thinking of enough events that flow smoothly and naturally within a story, so it doesn't just feel like, here's event number 1, here's event number 2, here's event number 3, the end. It needed to be something that I could create a story that you guys would naturally, through your own playing of it, get through the story that I wanted to tell. And I think what's really interesting about Dread is it's quite clear that it kind of says, it puts emphasis on the fact that there is no winner in this. At the end of the day, if the tower falls, someone dies, but at any given time, theoretically, a player could choose to knock down the tower, and they could do that, so that kind of creates an idea of a heroic death, that they're killing themselves to achieve something. And so it's very much kind of plays into the idea that everyone is part whilst I am the narrator or the kind of the main storyteller, you guys tell the story with me. It's not just me telling a story and you following it. The story doesn't happen without you guys getting involved. And there'll be things that you guys will do that will impact the story that I haven't even thought of, that I then have to adapt. That's what's interesting for me, and that's what, if anything about this whole process that I'm worried about or something, is being able to improvise and come up with ideas on the spot when things have happened that I've not planned for, that I can, without me having to stop the game, get it back on track to where I need it to go. Because I'm fairly confident that I can get it to where I need to go. It's those deviations that you guys will obviously take because of the story, the way that you want to come up, because you don't know where I'm going, and you will make a decision to do something that kind of goes against what I'm trying.
One of the tips I'll give you as somebody who's been fortunate enough to be around very good like GMs, DMs, one of the things that beginners around, and this certainly is what I did when I started beginning to play like some of these pen and paper RPGs, your players will be overly cautious to begin with. Like that's one of the things that you'll need to accommodate that you might not have thought of. It's basically players initially will do everything they possibly can to, like instead of like just walking through a dungeon door, they'll creep, like they'll very slowly open the door and peek inside and look around and all that sort of stuff, very, very slowly, and it really slows D&D games right down. So that's something. But yeah, I mean, I'm really genuinely super excited to experience the story that you're doing, and you're in a really interesting position because not only do you have to keep the game running and sort of be the balance and ensure that we're keeping to the rules, you also have to ensure that we're having a nice time, which is it's a difficult role to fill. But
the problem with Dread that you've got is because other than rolling a dice and other than being in a fantasy world, we are playing this game in a world where there's a finality to it. The tower falls, a character dies, and from what you've sent us in your rules, there's nothing that can save us. In D&D, unless you get a certain amount of health below your health points, you are not dead. You can be brought back, and even if you do die, there is still a way that a DM could bring that character back to life. So I imagine that being a DM for Dread is really difficult because you might have these grand plans later on, but within the first turns, I could be drunk or just be a dick and die, and then suddenly you're two characters down, you're one character down, and I'm not coming back.
Well, I think that it does kind of factor into the game, into the rules. They do talk about kind of the areas where maybe someone knocks over the tower really early on, and depending on how early it is, they very much say these are the rules, go ahead and do what you want with them. So I could kind of reset the tower and say that one doesn't count, it was too early, it's going to ruin the game. There's another aspect where they use where if it's knocked over too early, you can basically rebuild the tower and that character survives, but they're just referred to as they are doomed. So at any point in the game, I can kill them because they've escaped death once. Death is coming after them, theoretically.
It's like Final Destination.
Yeah, so I can basically, at any given time, when I choose within the story, I can kill them. They don't have to knock the tower over. They don't have to pull from the tower anymore, but they remain as part of the story, so the story can continue, and I can kill them at any time, which, again, that adds that aspect that you don't know when you're going to die. As a narrator, I have that ability to have that hanging over the game, and so there are ways that you can work around that. And I think that will be interesting. I mean, I don't think that will necessarily happen because I don't think that the tower is likely to be knocked over too early. So I don't think we'll be faced with that. But there are certainly ideas and kind of strategies that myself as the DM can put in place around that to make sure that the game still remains fun.
It sounds absolutely fascinating. I mean, I've got a feeling almost that actually the crafting, and I think it is crafting, the crafting of an actual narrative for this game is just as interesting as the actual playing of it out. And how it has to be something that has to be inherently porous. It has to have these major beats these points of tension, because every time you take a Jenga block out, it's when you're making a decision and it creates that tension. You have to have those major beats, but at the same time, as you say, Dan, you've got to trust us to kind of find those points to kind of connect these points of tension in the narrative, I suppose.
Exactly, and
so I'm very much enjoying it.
I mean, you've got, and that's the thing. By doing it in a group where everyone wants to be part of it and create a good story, that it is a case of, although I am basically the storyteller, and you are the players, we are all creating it together. It's not just one person doing it and everyone else is completely separate. We will work together to create something. So, as I say, if you feel that you want to die in a heroic way to save another player, you can do that. If that's the best thing for the story, I might try and, if I've got another way, I might try and not necessarily talk you out of it, but push it into a slightly different direction. That might be the case. That might give you an out for that. But it is very much a group activity in terms of everyone gets to tell a story. And that's what I find really, really interesting, that there's no winners. There's no winners, there's no losers. Whatever happens. It's just our game and our story that's being told.
Talking about Taxi Driver, Dan, like a couple of shows back, I happened to just mention off the cuff that I'd not seen any of the Lethal Weapon films. And then I went onto Twitter afterwards and I got kind of ripped apart by you, Dan, and someone that we went to uni with on Twitter that I hadn't seen these films. And I replied back, I said, I hadn't seen The Godfather, I've not seen Rocky, I've not seen The Sound of Music.
You know how Twitter works.
Weirdly, I think of all of those, The Sound of Music is the worst.
What?
I think of those films, I think it's probably the one I'm most surprised at is The Sound of Music, because I just assume that everyone has seen The Sound of Music. Just naturally, in their youth, they see it.
No.
Not seen it. No?
You've not seen The Sound of Music?
I want to watch a musical about Nazis.
I was practically brought up on that film.
No, I've not. No, I don't feel like I need to go and see it. I kind of feel like I have seen it because of, those films that are so critically acclaimed and they're being parodied and pastiche so many times, you almost feel like you've seen it without actually having seen it. Like, I know the famous scenes in Taxi Driver. I know in principle, what happens in Rocky, and same with The Godfather, that kind of thing. I almost don't feel like I need to see the films because I feel like I already have seen them. If that makes any sense.
I think with The Godfather, I get it, because I think that, to me, that feels like an event film that you make an effort to go and you specifically try to watch it. For me, Sound of Music, throughout my youth, was on TV so much that you kind of couldn't miss it. And that's why it's surprising to me.
I never saw it. I just know the famous moment where Julie Andrews is running up a hill, a mountainside, and singing to basically nothing.
That's literally the first 60 seconds of the film.
I also know that where's it set? Set in Austria, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's her relationship with a naval captain.
She's a nun who is hired as basically a nanny for a captain's family. But he's a naval captain. And the last time I heard, Austria didn't really have much of a siege surrounding it. I'm not sure the military status of him.
Are you poking holes in a film called The Sound of Music, where one scene consists of a woman, again, I've not seen it, surrounded by loads of children telling them why she likes baskets of kittens and mittens. Like...
Those are a few of my favourite things.
That film is just preposterous. And the reason I've not seen it, Dan, is if my mum and dad were watching it when I was a kid, I'd go, right, singing, girls in dresses, I'm leaving the room. Where's Subutio? Like...
Sorry, hang on. Girls in dresses? Where's Subutio?
Subutio, my brother.
Sam, the stereotype of all of the male.
You didn't even know where you... I love the idea that your parents would just, whenever they watch Sound of Music, we've got to make him watch it. Well, how can we make him watch it? We'll just hide the Subutio. But he knows all the places we hide it in. Well, we'll put it in the loft. He doesn't look
there. Talking of taxi drivers, Pete and I had a wonderful taxi journey while we were in Bristol. We were picking up the My Good Lady's suitcase at her hotel. And then the plan was that we're going to go from the hotel and we're going to just catch a bus or something, back up to Pete's place, get a cup of tea, and then we were going to leave and go back to Manchester. While we're at the hotel, Pete goes, shit, what's the time? Like 2:30? I like... 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2:30. 2 I had a
Made
Tesco
plans.
delivery coming for the weekly shop at between 2 and 3. And Lisa and I looked at each other and we're just like, Pete. And he's like, Alex, Pete's girlfriend, she's ordered stuff as well. He's just like, oh, God. So Pete gets on Uber quickly. Ahmed picks us up. 6 minutes later, we're in his black Vauxhall, like racing up Bristol Hills. Like Pete's saying, going, come on.
It's like a middle-class thriller.
we drive up to his apartment complex, and there it is, the Tesco's van. But is it indicating, or are its hazards on? So Pete nonchalantly just gets out the car, like says goodbye to Ahmed. Me and Lisa are a bit more polite, and then suddenly you just see Pete's face as his Tesco van indicates and pulls away and goes down the drive. And like Pete's like, that's my food. And then to make it worse, we get into Pete's apartment, and I said that it might be alright because they might have like posted it all through the letterbox and stuff. I don't know how it works.
What, a slice of bread at a time.
They left a card saying, sorry we missed you. We tried you on this number and it was Alex's number. So he's like, she knows now. She knows. She knows that I missed it.
One of the things that we didn't get around to doing... Well, so we played all sorts of games while you were over, Sam. We got the NES out. We played Chippendale Rescue Rangers. We played Super Mario Brothers 2 and went... we tried to play Super Mario Brothers 3, but my NES was like, I'm really not working very well at the moment, so I'm not going to have it. I will be cleaning it with the air canister that I purchased and the... What was it?
I had the job, Dan, Chris, of literally holding Pete's hand around a DIY shop. Now, it wasn't like a DIY shop like B&Q or Wickes. It was the DIY section of a local Wilko's. And even that was dumbfounding enough for Peter to completely... Like, I literally had to go up to him and, like, hand in the sandpaper because he just had no idea what he was looking for.
And I had to ask a nice man where the
so he can clean his Nintendo Entertainment System.
So I would like to clean my NES, please. Where is your compressed air? So we did all that.
You bought a tool belt.
Yeah. We played Double Dragon 2, which was great. Greatest game ever.
Classic.
But one of the co-op games that we didn't manage to play, and I actually really wanted to play this with you, Sam.
Thanks.
Was Riptide GP Renegade, which I have been playing, and it's got split screen multiplayer, it's got online multiplayer, all that sort of stuff, and I really wanted to give it a go while you're down, but we didn't get a chance to because we were too busy doing other bits and pieces. But so yeah, I've been playing it. It's like a skidoo racer kind of thing. Like
Skidoos.
What are they
Jet
called?
skis
They're
on
like
snow. Yeah.
Skidoo. Yeah. Is that what it is? Well, that sort of thing.
That hand gesture is going to be lost on the listeners, Peter.
Well, yeah. It's like they're like
a jet ski for snow,
but in the water. Yeah, What's a water
motorbikes in the water?
Jesus Christ!
Is it a jet ski?
Did you think like a jet ski was something that was actually jet powered?
What do you call a jet ski?
Going across the sky
on the water. It's a fucking jet ski.
Is it a jet ski?
A skidoo.
What do you call those planes?
The name creates itself.
You know the ones that are in the air?
What, planes?
Yeah.
Right, no,
Actually,
that's
Dan,
not a jet ski in the air.
They're called aeroplanes, as in planes that are in the air.
Oh, right. Listen, so, yes, I've been playing it, and so it's, you're driving around in jet skis, it's like the far future, and the big motorsport in the world is jet ski racing, and it's got this weirdly detailed career mode where you are sort of thrown out of the racing league and you have to start from the very beginning, and you've got this sets of races with rivals, and the only way to get there is to prove your worth from the very bottom of the leagues to get all the way to the top of the leagues again. So I'm currently playing this on PlayStation 4. It's going to be on, or if it's not already, on Xbox One, Steam, iOS and Android. I think it's on Apple TV and Google Nvidia Shield or something along those lines. And yeah, it's like this fast-paced, arcadey racing game where you're on water, you are grabbing boost by doing tricks,
so
and
it's
doing
wave race,
stunts and so on, and it's not quite wave race, but I really did love wave race, and I also, well, everyone did, and more importantly, I really loved a game called Hydro Thunder Hurricane. This is which was by Vector Unit, and Riptide GP Renegade is also by Vector Unit, which is why I was like, I need to go and play that, because I really, really loved Hydro Thunder Hurricane. And yeah, I've been playing it, and it is like brutally tough. Like, it feels a little bit like it's approaching Wipeout levels of difficult at times, like where you're running up against opponents where you just can't seem to scrape those couple of seconds off that you need to get to the end. It's really fast. It looks great. It runs really, really smoothly. I mean, I will say this. Obviously, there's an iOS and Android version, so you would hope it would run smoothly on a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One. But those mobile routes, they're present, but they're not particularly egregious. There's no in-app purchases.
Completing a course, basically, yeah.
Yeah. So you get to the end. So you get to the end of course. If you come in first, or if you get the highest number of points, or whatever it is, you get 3 stars and you move on. You get money to unlock new vehicles. So the game's progression is very much built around how you unlock things and how you upgrade your craft so that you can get good enough to the point where you can continue on racing. As I say, there's not really in-app purchases or anything like that. It's all you just do the races. Which is nice. The controls are really, really beautiful, work really well on controller. It's definitely been adapted really well from the Riptide series, which kind of started off life on touchscreens. Yeah, like, I've been like super surprised at how great it is. Like, I thought that this kind of racer wasn't happening anymore. This kind of very much a straight up, here is a racing game, get on with it. Whereas you have stuff like Forza Horizon, which is just so terrified, that you'll get bored, that it just goes, here, go to this thing over here, or like the Need for Speed games where they're like, go over here and do stunts, okay, now go over here and do racing, now one-on-one, now this. You've got what's that Ubisoft game, The Crew, where it's like, go to the top of this tower and unlock all these things. This is just do a race. Like, it's very much straight up in that way, which is quite refreshing. Yeah, and I've been thoroughly enjoying it. It's really, really nice. Only downside I found of it so far, so it does have this online multiplayer stuff. I couldn't find anybody playing it, which is why I really wanted to do the split screen with you,
probably got more of a presence on mobile.
I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I think it's probably going to suffer a little bit from the fact that Riptide started off on mobile. Like, I think some people are going to go
download only.
Yeah, so digital only release, and like. Yeah, it's kind of snuck out. Like, I must admit, I was a little bit surprised when I saw the email about it in my inbox. I was like, oh, okay, that's coming to PS4? Okay, nuts. I'd love to see how that works out. And it turns out it works out really, really well, but I definitely think that there's going to be this stigma attached to it of like, oh, it's a mobile game on console. And actually, it's a console game on mobile that has now finally made its way back onto consoles. But yeah, so really, really like it. And yeah, I just think it's ace. I think it gets almost gets as exciting as Hydro Thunder Hurricane at times. It's almost as over the top as that game is, but it's a much nicer, much tighter racing experience, much closer to the Riptide, akin like that wave race kind of a thing, as you pointed out earlier.
Well, it's great to know that I could have had a better time if staying at yours. Like, here's what you could have had.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but instead what you and I did was just spend about 40 minutes total blowing on cartridges to make sure that we could play as Chip and or Dale.
This is about the mountain prep, because I've got a feeling that there are 4 of us here, 3 of us have done some kind of prep for mountain climbing, and one of us hasn't.
Prep for his mountain climbing. I tell you what, Dan, it's better than yours, from what I hear from what you've been doing.
Look at Dan's face.
I highly doubt that.
Dan's face there of, oh,
I even
shit.
know.
What prep have you been doing, Pete?
I make sure that I walk home from work every day, and as Sam will attest, it is an intense walk.
How far is it?
It's
doesn't matter.
It's about a 15-minute walk.
Yeah.
15-20-minute walk.
Yeah, but Dan, It is up the biggest hill I've ever... You know that hill in Aberystwyth? Cardiac Hill?
Yeah.
It's like walking up that every single day for Pete.
Cardiac Hill, you drive down that hill, and every time I drove down that hill, my ears would pop. And it's such a short hill, intense. But it is so steep.
And Dan, Pete actually went rock climbing the other day. So in terms of training he's doing, he's up there. You've got to step it up.
Well, at the moment for me, on average on a daily basis, I'm walking 6 miles home, which is taking about an hour and a half.
Is that in preparation for when Kris takes us 6 miles away from where we need to?
Exactly. I'm not being messed up this time. I'm practicing my road walking.
I've actually
for all the hill climbing you're going to do.
I've looked at the map and everything this time, lads, beforehand. It's a shoo-in. Okay, that's good. That bodes well. That bodes well, that training, because as I said to you in the message the other day, this is an extra 2 or 3 miles on last year's walk. That's not including the extra 6 miles of road walking that we did as well.
But it's not as high, is it? It's like about 100 feet. It's about a tenth less. Is Scaffold Pike, so it's over 100 meters of difference.
So we won't need oxygen tanks this time, lads.
Yeah, but it's over 100 meters of distance, right? And where, like in Snowdon is 1,085 meters high, so it's a tenth less. So yeah, it's longer. But what that essentially means, Dan, it's good news. Don't rock the boat. Like, it means that it's less steep and it's over a longer distance, so it won't be quite as holy crap, we're going to die on the side of this mountain as the last one was.
And also, it balances it out because it's the exact same length in terms of time as the previous one. So you are right, Pete. It's actually works out the exact same time, even though we're going further.
And and then. The tallest, the one we should really like.
I thought Ben Nevis was next.
No, Dan, let's definitely not do Ben Nevis next.
Why?
Because it's 300 meters higher than Wales.
Yeah, we'd have a year to prepare for it.
It's another third.
It's still a year away.
But you and I don't prepare for it, Dan.
I have been preparing, Pete.
You're saying, oh, we've got another year to prepare for it. But you getting off one stop before your bloody train ride comes along and tootling along a path is not actual training. Neither is I get home 15-minute walk up a slightly steeper hill for an extra 300 metres of height. An extra think about Snowdon doing a third of it on the way up again, and then another third on the way down. Like,
why, Pete? What kind of training do you think you'd need to do? Out of curiosity.
Proper walking. People have died on the side of Ben Nevis.
Well, I'm doing proper walking.
No, but I mean walking, not walking.
Oh, sorry, I've been crawling. Sorry, I should have specified.
You've been your walking has been sauntering.
I guarantee it's not been sauntering. By the time we get to when we climb our mountain, I will have walking, like proper walking, over 100 miles.
Right.
Well, let's have a race.
That is a bad idea. That is a very bad idea.
Well, if you want to fight over which training method is best, who's doing the best walking?
I'm just specifying that I am actually training.
Well, let's have a race. Let's just see who copes better on the day.
300 metres, mate.
Bearing in mind also, I'm the only one with a car, so whatever happens, you'll still have to wait for me. Or I will have to wait for you.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, you would have to wait for us.
You two can run off. You two can run off on your own because you've been doing all your high intensity training with thunder thighs, like Valderie, Valro. And me and Kris are just sauntering at the end, and there you are.
I'm going to take my time. I'm not interested in getting up there fast. I'm just concentrating on not dying.
You want to see you want to take in the view as well. You don't want to just be staring at the ground.
So, Sam and Kris, what are your thoughts on Ben Nevis?
Oh, definitely, I want to do it after this one.
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
That was Staying In with Peter Willington, Dan Frost, Sam Turner, and myself, Kris Darby. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit stayingin.podbean.com for more information and links to the comics, movies, games and more covered in this episode. And come find us on Twitter at StayingInPod. Thanks for listening.